If you've never taken an animation course before, this is the first project that they will always assign you to take a circle and animate it as a bouncing ball on a loop. So getting not only the up and down motion, but also the pinch and stretch motion when it deforms on impact. And I did this all in PowerPoint. And that's what I want to talk about today is the use of PowerPoint for creating educational animations that you can show to your students. So this animation is actually quite simple. You can see that I've taken this circle and I've gone to the animation pane and I've added some effects to it. The first effect is just this. It just drops the ball, and then it has built into it the ability to reverse, go to properties, effect options. And yeah, here it is. Auto reverse is connected. So all I did was tell it to go down, and then I clicked auto reverse, which is why it bounces back up. The next effect squishes. So all it does is squishes it like that. It stretches it out in the X direction. The next effect squashes. Squishes and squashes. And that squishes it down in the Y direction. So when you get all three of them, you get that bounce effect. Then I went over to slideshow, set up slideshow, and I clicked this option that says loop continuously until you hit escape. So this whole slide is just repeating its animation over and over again until I tell it to stop doing that. And that's how you get this nice bouncing ball effect. Now that is a very simple animation, but you can go more complex with it. So for example, this is a PowerPoint presentation I put together about how the periodic table was developed and why it looks the way it does, the kind of the history of how it was put together. And you can see that it's a little bit complicated. I have a few more slides involved here, but you can come in with some basic animations. This shows all of the elements that they knew about at the time where they were developing this stuff. Then color coding them by properties that those elements have. There's a very simple just change color animation that you can put in. This next animation, this took a little bit of time for me to get right, but it keeps the order and it places them in their correct column so that these colors are nicely sorted. And you start to see the sense, the logic of the periodic table, how it's grouping up similar elements, but it's also keeping them in order of mass. And the animation continues to show the development, the discovery of new types of elements and when they were added in, how those fit in. You can see how many tiny little moments I've created to create all those different effects in there. Yeah, here you can see all the different paths that things are taking in order to create that. That took a couple of days. This one's relatively complex. This one could be used by math and social studies people. It models population growth over time. So if you just want to talk about exponents or you want to talk about human population growth, this same kind of thing would work. This is specifically talking about how rabbits became an invasive species in Australia. And it just shows here, we start out with 24 rabbits. That's this image here. And then how exponential population growth works is that there's a doubling time. So we have twice as many rabbits, and then twice as many rabbits again. And this is just using the same basic animation tools that I showed you in the first bouncing ball. And then now we're off the chart. And then we can lay in that J-shaped curve to show the overall trend of exponential population growth. So you can use this for all kinds of things. You can use this for math, social studies. You can definitely use animations to help bring points home in an English course, depending on what the content of the literature you're reading is. Science, there's lots of opportunities to make very difficult concepts more accessible. So thinking about PowerPoint not just as a presentation software, but also as an option for doing more more creative works is something that I like to do.